Hey, everybody. We're a little late, but better late than never. And thank you for joining Wake Up America. And you guys know the drill. Every week, I bring an entrepreneur and I sit him on the hot seat and I ask him about his biggest struggles and challenges and how it is that he changed his life. In this case, Carl Peter, and became the entrepreneur that they are today. And I have a very special guest with me, Carl Peter, but we'll be right back in 1 second. And we're back. Hi, Carl. How are you?
Hey, I'm having a phenomenal day so far. How are you doing, Naomi?
I'm good. It's actually been a beautiful, beautiful day here. Beautiful day here. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Tuesday as well. And thank you so much for hopping on with me, Carl. I'm really excited about this interview.
Likewise, likewise.
Cool. So I know that you and I have been talking a little bit, but why don't we begin first by you explaining a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I'm Carl Peter, and my story goes, to cut it short, to where I am today is 15 years ago, I made a choice that led to a decade of bad decisions. I wasn't being myself. I was getting myself in a lot of trouble. And then 5 years ago, I made one choice that helped me step out of that dark cloud that I was in. And I began a spiritual transformational journey. And it started by, of course, finding the right mentors. And along that journey, I started writing. I started doing motivational speaking videos, up to this point where I have 3 books, my first to be released very soon. And I started doing engineering projects, some copywriting. And during this COVID-19, a lot of, as tragic as COVID has been, I feel like if you ask yourself the right questions, then you'll see there's truly a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll tell you, in August, yeah, up to this point, what I'm doing now, because I had to do what happened after I graduated uh, with my degree in electrical engineering, right? And I went on to work with an aerospace company. Aerospace company, 500 people. They had me captain on the field there for one of the teams, and I led us to be in the highest producing team there. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd show up every single day. I'd take no breaks. But even with all that hard work, when COVID-19 hit, I was the first one to get laid off in late March. And so, it hit me hard at first. And, I didn't ask myself the wrong questions. I asked myself the right questions. I started asking, what does this mean to me? What can I do better? What can I do today to make tomorrow better? Because I showed up, I did my work. I know that I did my part. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think me following my intuition for all these years, it led me to what's happening during COVID. And I started working online and following my passions. And that's where I am today.
Wow, that's awesome. And you said so much. Like, I want to dissect everything, everything. Okay, so let's start by this because I love the fact that you said you asked the right questions, because sometimes we ask ourselves the wrong questions when we feel that something is happening to us. And I talk about this all the time. It's saying, is this happening to me or is this happening for me? And sometimes it doesn't feel that way, like you said right now, right? It's like, what happened? I did everything right. I was up at 4 a.m. I put all the work. I was on top. I was a leader, but sometimes we can't control our external circumstances. So let me ask you, when you started asking yourself these questions, what happened?
I started developing stronger habits. I started getting back to waking up at 4 a.m. instead of sleeping in like I was, when I had nothing to do. And I started realizing that I need to put in some work. I need to do my research. I need to apply on multiple sites. I need to see what's out there. I need to get mentors. And though I didn't have the best routines, morning routines and stuff like that, and the only thing that I had was my workout. My workout kept me with a clear head, energized to do all of this during the day. But my focus was just to get that. It was just to find something. And I didn't care how long it took me, as long as I was putting in the work. I knew I was going to get there, and I eventually found the opportunities.
Okay, so what is it that you're working on now?
Right now, I'm doing some engineering projects. I was doing freelance copywriting for a little bit, but now I'm going to stop doing that because I just recently started doing e-commerce. I have my Facebook group that I've been working on along with my Facebook page. and I've got my book coming out that I've been editing for a while and getting ready to publish it before the end of this year.
Okay, well, that sounds fantastic. And let's talk about this book a little bit. So, what
Yeah.
is this book about?
The book is about the story of my life, about what happened between those first 10 years, what happened before those 10 years, during those 10 years, and then the last 2/3 of the book is pretty much about this whole transformational journey that I had for the past 5 years.
Okay. Well, I want to get into it a little bit, okay? Because, like you said before, you had those 10 years, and I'm sure back then you weren't asking yourself the right questions. You didn't have the mentors. So, let's talk about your life. When you started this journey, what is it that you decided to do when you got out of college? Where did you think you were going?
Well, you never know really where you're going. The thing is, like I said, 2/3 of the book is the transformational journey, and a lot of people think that it's easy. It's not. That is the challenge: is finding who you are, following your passions, and doing the right thing. Because sometimes we don't know when we're doing the right thing, and that's until we keep making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Most importantly, is what's going to develop who you are, and eventually you find who you are, you follow your intuition, you'll be more connected to your intuition and find your passions. And when I got out of school, I'll be honest with you, Naomi, I disliked school to a certain extent. Like, I was never an education over experienced guy. I was in there for the sole purpose just to get my degree. I knew if I had my focus on the degree, I'll get it. But I didn't put my life on the line for it. I wrote my book. I did my videos. I kept getting experience outside of school. And I feel like if I didn't get all that experience, then right now I'd be a laid off engineer from an aerospace company who would be lost, and wouldn't have all this, the skill set and the passion that I have for what I do right now.
Exactly.
So it was like unexpected, the thing about life is many of us, we worry about how we're going to get there. We have expectations, but the important thing is enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey, take it step by step, and the most important thing is they have your focus on the outcome, and you'll get there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I always say that when you start a project or you start a journey, it kind of looks like the Disney castle. You know
Yeah.
how it just seems on top, and although it's beautiful, but all the clouds are in the way, and you can't see you can't see the road. You know,
Right.
so it's every time it's just taking a leap of faith and hoping that every time you take that step, that next step is going to be there, right? So
Yeah.
how is it that you overcome your fear? Because fear is the big bad wolf. Sometimes fear is what stops most of us on our tracks. So how is it that you handle that?
Well, I take it from my past, because I could say I was best friends with fear for a long time, and that's when I stepped out of that dark cloud. That's when I started really facing it, and I said that I've had enough. Enough is enough, and I don't care how long it takes me to overcome this fear. I'm gonna knock on that door of the boogeyman every single day, and because I know that there's something out there for me. There's something bigger out there for me. And as long as if I ask myself limiting questions, such as, can I accomplish this goal if I do this? Do you think that I'm good enough to do that? And then you hear these voices. Of course you're not. You've never tried that before. What do you think you're doing? All of a sudden, you think that you're going to be able to do something you've never done before, and write a book. Do motivational speaking. Get a degree, education. Who do you think you are? And that's like the kind of voices that I heard in my head that I was fighting on a daily basis. Daily basis, I was fighting that voice. I said, because I know who I am, and I know that this is only a false voice in my head, false evidence appearing real, and the only thing that's real is what I create. You create your reality, and that's how I started to really overcome my fears, was really perceiving it as, rather than fearing the unknown, was really, I was excited for what I didn't know. I perceived fear as excitement.
Yeah.
And that was I think how I started taking that first steps.
Well, it's funny because the feelings that come from fear and excitement, it's kind of the same. It's the same chemicals running through the body when you have this experience, but basically it's the story that we attach to it. So basically, if you're looking at a situation like you said, like, can I really do this? Well, your brain's going to attack you immediately because the brain is survival. It's about saving energy. So basically, it's going to tell you, no, don't try that. No, don't do that. It doesn't know that it's not doing the best for you as a person. It's looking at it from a survival, instinctual point of view, like the
Yeah.
saber-tooth tiger, it's still back there millions of years ago, right? So it's going to always lead you in the opposite direction, but it's up to you to like push past that fear. Now, let me ask you a question. It wasn't always like this, right? Before, what is it where were you, and what is it that happened in your life that made you realize, you know what, I'm not going in the right direction, or I'm not happy? Was it that you were not happy? Was it that problems were going on and you realized, wow, there's chaos in my life? What was going on that made you get to that like catalyst point where you knew that you had to make a change?
Sure. So I just like to add one thing about the fear too, is that it's always going to be there. Fear is very defeatable, but it's never going to go away. It's always going to have that instant feeling. It could be nervousness, it could be trying something new. So you're always going to have that feeling. Maybe that maybe I might not be able to do it, but you're going to have. But the more you do something and consistent in it, the more confident you become, the more confident you become, and the less fearful you become of doing things.
Absolutely.
So what was happening with me was I was going on the wrong path, and I realized it because at first some things can seem okay, having a good time, breaking the rules, doing things that that you couldn't do when you were under your parents' roof and stuff. And I was kind of doing that thing. I was a nightclub promoter in Miami, and I was living the life for a couple of years. And I realized that the more I got in it, the darker things became for me. And I just started, I started realizing that I wasn't being myself anymore. And the whole family didn't believe in me at one point. I was the most frowned upon person in my family. And I almost passed out. I almost died on a couple of occasions.
Really?
And yeah, and even with that happening, I still kept going forth with what was going on because I felt like, things are going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And and then it just came to a point where I said, it's not going to be okay. If I keep doing this, it's not. So I stepped out right then and there. When I had that little bit of conscious decision in me, I stepped out right away.
And let me ask you, when all of this was going on, what were you feeling inside? Were you feeling happy? Were you feeling afraid, or were you being stubborn? What was going on during that whole time when, like you said, you even had problems that you passed out and could have died?
Yeah, I was very stubborn. I was very ignorant. I was very stupid, and I wasn't thinking straight. I just was not thinking straight, and I kept thinking that maybe this is normal, and then I realized that this definitely isn't normal. It took me a long time to realize that.
Okay. And do you think that it was from a level of maybe you didn't have the self-awareness that you have now?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And how is it that you started to develop these skills? When you woke up, what was that moment? And what did you have to change? What did you do? What happened when you decided enough is enough?
I had a girlfriend at the time. My last couple months in Miami, I had a girlfriend, and she was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me, both at the same time. The worst because things just got worse and worse for me, but the best because she made me realize that this is what I have to do if that I was going nowhere with my life, and I was going to stay stuck there if I was there doing the same thing as her and everyone around me. So I stepped out, and the first thing that I did was I picked up a book for Tony Robbins, it was Unlimited Power. And that's how I started. I started by reading books, Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant Within. And through a series of books, that's how I started developing the mindset that I have today.
Okay. And while you were going through this, because I know you said that it was hard, and I know this personally too, because I'm on the same path and the same journey. And some people think that once you're in personal development and you're doing certain things, that oh, it's just easy, it's a piece of cake. But it's really not, because developing these skills after a certain age becomes more and more difficult, because the more amount of years that your brain is accustomed to practicing a certain habit or behavior, they say that it might even take half the time. And I know that when it comes to patterns of behavior, if it's something simple,
Yeah.
you can pretty much make a good change in about 4 weeks. But there are some patterns of behavior that can take 365 days. They could take a little longer, depending what it is and how long you've been practicing. So explain a little bit about how that journey went for you, and what is it that you would use to motivate you or to keep you going and not fall back into the bad habits or bad patterns of behavior that you had before.
It is a it's after I read these books, as I was writing these books, I found myself through writing. Writing was healing to me. I was able to express myself. I was able to write down my thoughts of ever going back to where I was, and those little thoughts, they turned into a chapter, and that chapter turned into a story, and that story turned into a book that I've been writing for 5 years. And so I had to find alternatives, and that alternative for me was through writing. Was my escape, and it was my way of expressing myself and just being in the moment, and it helped me heal day by day. And then I started realizing that people wanted to hear my voice. So 2 years after that, I started doing videos. I created Extreme Motivation on YouTube. I started doing Instagram. Until this year, I realized that I've been focusing on the wrong platform for the longest time. And 2 months ago, I just started on this group on Facebook. It's grown to about 1,400 members in 2 months.
Wow, congratulations, Carl. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. You deserve it because you put in the work. And
Thank
like you were saying, I want to go back to the writing, because I always say this, and writing is so important. And for those that are jumping in, guys, please introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're from. And if you have any questions, either for Carl or me, go ahead and ask us. I mean, we're open, as you can see. We're willing to talk about anything and share any tips, anything that you want to know.
Yes.
Now, Carl, let's go back to the writing, because I always say that one, writing to me is like magic. When you write something, it magically comes true. Of course, if you take action. But like you said, it's healing. So what is it that got you starting into writing? And yeah, is that like a daily practice? And I want to ask you, besides that, another practice that I think that you take, which is very important too.
Yes. So I believe that morning routine is everything. To me, that's because the time you get in the morning, you can never get that time back, and it usually determines how your day is going to go, how you're going to feel physically, how you're going to feel mentally, how you're going to feel spiritually. So I always try to make time for myself in the morning to do my workouts, to do my meditation, to do my reading and my writing. And the habits that I've developed over the years, the plan never stays the same. The plan never stays the same, because as you advance, you're going to see that you're going to have to change the plan. There's going to be different stuff that come into your life. You're going to have to know how to balance certain things at certain times. And balance is so important. Sometimes you could be doing so many things at once, but when you have so many things thrown at you at once, you need to figure out how you're going to keep track. That's what happened to 50 Cent, for example. 50 Cent, his story goes, is he was signed by Eminem, so he rose to fame pretty quick. He had one of the biggest debut albums of all time, Get Rich or Die Trying. Had a great movie right after that, based on his life. And and then he had so he was rising fast to the top. But what happened? He had a net worth of $200 million, and then it could just drop to $5 million in about a year or two, because he was spending so much money, he didn't know what to do with everything he had. And so what he did was he took a pause. He held that position for a while. And usually when you hold a position in life, you get creative, because you don't have too much going on. You're at a certain balance, and you know what to do with what you have. And that's what's most important. Focus on what you have, not what you lack, because what you have is what's gonna get you to where you want to be. There's no external force. There's no materialistic things that can make you happy or get you where you want to be. It's all within you already. And that's like me, for example, with writing. I just use my hands, I use my voice, and that's all you need. You need your hands, your voice, your intuition, your body, whatever it is. You is what makes you unique. You is what is your purpose here. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
So he got creative, went on to do the Power Show, the best show on television for last 6 seasons. And so yeah, then he did also like the champagne and the albums, and that just taught me about balance. How important it is, and how you have to day by day, week by week, month by month, you figure out your plans. But what's most important is keeping your in a good state by developing the right habits, and right habits are like reading, meditating, working out. That's like what gets me going in the morning.
Yeah, I believe morning habits are key, and writing, meditation, and exercise for me are the most important things. There's something about exercise, and I always tell young people that it's good to exercise because when you want to have a strong mind, if you have a body that feels energized and it feels good and it's circulating and it feels strong, when you push your body, it's much easier to push your mind, I have to say. It really is. And
Yeah.
also it brings a sense of well-being. It is something that when you have discipline, do you think that the exercise also helps you in keeping your self-discipline in check? Because I want
Uh,
you to know that.
yes, the workout. If I'm not feeling my best physically, I'm not performing my best. That's like something that I got to do first thing in the morning every day. Like, and it's and also like 50 Cent, even in his book that I'm reading right now, he'll say even if he gets if he gets home at 3, he's still waking up at 5, so that he can hit the gym before he goes into all these meetings during the day. He'll say, "I want 2 hours of sleep." Now, not everybody can do 2 hours of sleep. I personally need at least 6 hours. So you need to know how much sleep you need, and definitely sleep is a huge factor for many of us. And working out definitely gets me. It gets me in a good state, and it gets me. If I'm not feeling my best, I'm not performing my best.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I want young people to understand, because we live in a world where technology is so prevalent that we're forgetting that the simple things are the most important things. And it's like Carl says, sometimes the best things are free. Being able to write, being able to meditate, being able to exercise, even if it's not in a gym, go take a run, go run up some stairs, do some sit-ups, but get that body going. When you do these things, you're able to have a clear mind. And I want to talk about what you said about intuition. Were you always, did you always listen to your intuition, or did you feel that you drowned it out and now your intuition is much clearer?
It's definitely at first you don't. Definitely at first you wouldn't know what it is. It takes time to understand the intuition, but usually the intuition is the thing that's telling you to do the exact opposite of what others are telling you to do. That's like in my life, if I hadn't followed my intuition telling me to focus on my passions, focus on my writing, focus on me, then I would have only focused on my degree. I would have focused on security. And I believe my intuition. I always say follow your intuition, because intuition is going to lead you to where you want to be. It's going to have you put out the right energy into the universe, and it doesn't happen right away. It takes years sometimes. Like me, 5 years, 15 maybe even. For me to understand where I was going, but um, everything that happens in your life happens for a reason, and your intuition is trying to guide you in the right direction, regardless of what other people are saying. You're gonna see that it's where your passion lives. It's who you are, and there's something waiting for you, not very far after you follow your intuition.
Yeah, and guys, always remember that I know that what Carl's saying sounds simple, and we know that it's not that easy. Simple is not easy, okay? But it does relate to happiness, because sometimes we live in this external world and we're so preoccupied, we're so worried about what other people think, and also, we all want to be accepted. We want to be a part of something, right? And so because of that, we tend to listen to others and sacrifice ourselves. And that is the beginning of losing yourself and then not being able to ever find that happiness. Because a lot of us, we get to a point and we're like, well, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know how to be happy. And it's because from that point, there was a point in life, in time, where you started making those decisions and you stopped listening to yourself and you started listening to others. So it might feel like the easy path at the moment, but always think, is it the right path and is it right for me? So now, Carl, I want to ask you a really important question.
Yeah.
Let's say that there's a teen right now who's probably at a point where you were. You know, he wants to do something, but he's not sure, and he has friends. You know, he wants to have a good time, and he's not sure where to go in life. What advice would you give him? What advice would you give to Carl if Carl was back then now?
So by the way, the camera, it's a little bit I can hear you perfectly, but the camera is a little bit it's cutting off, it's coming late a little bit. So I just want to make sure like everyone watching sees it clearly before before we continue.
Yes, I see it too. I see the screen moving. But go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so you're asking me what would the old Carl would the old Carl do or the new Carl like?
No, what would you tell young Carl right now, or what would you tell someone young at that moment in time? Exactly.
I would say, listen, it's okay to have fun, you know, it's okay to have fun, but you have to realize if the more fun that you have, especially when you're focusing on the fun first thing, when it's your for me, it was the only focus I had. I wanted to go have fun. I wanted to party. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I wanted to break the rules. And the more I did it, the worse things got. So it's okay to go out once in a while, have fun, but if you do it consistently, you know, and it's like all you care about, then you know you need to develop some discipline. You need to start focusing on the right things, and then balance your life with everything you're doing, making sure that you're on the right track at the same time. And if you're not sure you're on the right track, then maybe you need to take a break from going out for a little bit so that you could write down your thoughts, to get a planner, you know, start have some alone time, and make that time for yourself to see where you are, where you're going, and what you want.
Perfect. And you know what, guys? I know we probably sound like two party poopers right now, but I just want to tell you that what Carl is saying is true, because what happens is there's nothing wrong, like Carl said, with going out and having fun, having a good time. I mean, that's why we're in these bodies and we have five senses, right? To be able to experience the pleasures that we are afforded in life, right? But when we only focus, okay, on pursuing pleasure or material possessions, there's something that happens inside. Okay, there's something that goes on inside, and it's that little bit of an emptiness, because you know, satisfaction, which is what we get in these moments, is not fulfillment. And
Yes.
fulfillment is what brings true happiness. And then what happens, because I've been on a similar path, not the same, we've had different journeys, but a similar path where I found myself, you know, pursuing like the partying, the drugs, the this, the that. And it's because we're trying to fill that emptiness that we thought we were going to have by performing these activities.
Yeah.
So once again, like what we're saying, it might not be easy, but it is simple, and it is the steps that you need to take in order to have a good life. And I want to thank you so much, Carl, for doing this interview with me, and for being so honest and open.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And guys, I just want to remind you that if you're wanting to practice these principles and you don't know where to begin and you're having a hard time, or maybe you're suffering through some of the stuff that we talked about, maybe you have an addiction to something, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, you know, a porn, it could be drinking, it could be video games, it could be something as simple as just being on your phone, but you're not feeling that good and you want to take a step. Well, we want to invite you to our Team Warrior Summit that we're having this October. And for those of you that would like, we would love to invite you to our page, the Team Warrior Summit page. It's on Facebook, Be Your Own Hero, or www.teamwarriorsummit.com. And I'm going to play a short little 1-minute video so you guys can see what it's all about. And then we'll be back and we will say goodbye, and we'll leave you guys to having a fantastic Tuesday.
The Teen Warrior Summit was created out of the desire to have the much needed discussions when it comes to teens. So many teens now are dealing with depression, anxiety, negative self-talk, suicidal thoughts, and even addiction. They become addicted to technology, smartphones, porn, video games, social media, and even drugs. We aim to arm teens with the tools needed so they can be their own superheroes in life. The 5 elements of a superhero are confidence, courage, commitment, control, and purpose. That is what we are going to be teaching you inside of the Teen Warrior Summit.
Well, I'm telling you, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties today, blah. But I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And remember, live legendary, guys. Till the next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.